I mean, there's no one answer to that, really. I'd read the book and thought about it and felt it was quite pertinent to where I was at in life, and I was fascinated by the potential for learning whilst studying such an extraordinary book, and the potential in particular to learn from Stoppard. And so there's all sorts of reasons why one takes one project over another. It has to speak to you emotionally, though, most importantly. Well, originally it was written, conceived as a period drama set in lots of lovely palaces around Russia, and then we found we had to shoot some of it in the UK, and so the whole process was very much a kind of how do we realise a very realistic expression of the time, and it just began to feel quite constricting, and so I started thinking about how I could be more expressive of the internal landscape of the characters and make something more stylized, without it becoming a kind of smorgasbord of random influences, and so we hit upon this idea of the stage, and that kind of made sense of the way the society worked. One book in particular was quite influential, a book by Orlando Figes called Natasha's Dance, and it talks a lot about how St. Petersburg society really modelled themselves on Paris. They predominantly spoke French, they dressed as Parisians, they read books on etiquette, how to behave like French people. They even in the ballrooms were surrounded by mirrors, so that they could watch themselves perform their social interactions. And so this idea that they were all acting seemed to be quite an interesting notion, because it also spoke to Anna's predicament, that she was almost kind of found herself in a role as mother and as dutiful wife that no longer suited her, and so the process really is of deconstructing that character until she deconstructs so much that she no longer knows who she is or where she is, and she comes to her tragic end. Well, I was brought up in a small puppet theatre in North London called the Little Angel Theatre, and there it was a kind of magical place where anything could happen. But I was always particularly interested in what was going on behind the scenes as well as what the audience saw, and I kind of always felt like I wanted to rip the proscenium down and show the mechanics of the production, and so I think a lot of that plays into this, and everything there had a very handmade feel about it, and so that's perhaps why the aesthetics of this film are quite handcrafted. Well, Keira, when we made Pride and Prejudice together, was 18, and when we made Atonement, she was 21. And I hadn't seen her for a little while after Atonement, and then met up with her and discovered that she'd developed into this extraordinary, full-grown, complicated, strong, bold, brave young woman, and that was something I wanted to kind of bear witness to on screen. She's an incredibly fearless actress. She a lot of actors these days are afraid of ever playing a character with any moral ambiguity, or they want to always play lovable roles, so the audience will love them and pay money to go and see them again and keep them employed and build them bigger, richer houses. But Keira isn't necessarily interested in that. She's interested in getting to the nub of the human experience, shall we say, and so she's unafraid in that respect.